Story 1, The Golden Child vs. The Forgotten One ****. From the moment I could remember, my sister Amy was the golden child. While she had grand birthday parties with petting zoos and face painters, I had store-bought cakes and quiet family dinners. It became a pattern. She got the newest toys, the best clothes, and all the attention. One year, I saved for months to buy a bike, only for Amy to throw a tantrum and get a better one without lifting a finger. I learned early that effort did not always lead to reward. It wasn't just about material things. My parents always looked at her with admiration, while their eyes barely acknowledged me. I remember one Christmas morning when I had eagerly unwrapped a simple set of books I had asked for, only to see Amy receiving a brand new gaming console. The worst part? She didn't even seem excited, because she already assumed she'd get the best. That was my childhood, watching someone else be cherished while I simply existed in the background. Here's a lesson for all of us. Life isn't always fair, but your worth isn't measured by others' preferences. Have you ever felt overshadowed? Share your story in the comments. Story 2, The Missed Performance. In 4th grade, I practiced tirelessly for my school play. I was ecstatic to have a leading role. The excitement bubbled inside me for weeks, and I imagined my parents sitting in the front row, beaming with pride as I took the stage. But on the night of the performance, they showed up an hour late, missing my big moment. What? Because Amy had a stomachache that mysteriously disappeared when they got home. I stood there, my costume still on, the applause still ringing in my ears, but my heart felt empty. That night, I lay awake wondering if I had been invisible all along. It didn't matter how much I tried or how well I performed, there would always be something more important, and that something was usually Amy. There is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes, validation has to come from within. Have you ever worked hard for something only to have it overlooked? Let's talk about it below. Story 3, The Price of Perfection. Academics were my escape. Straight A's, science fairs, math clubs. I gave my all, hoping my parents would notice. I thought that if I just worked harder, if I achieved more, they would finally see me. When I won first place at a regional science fair, I came home glowing with pride. I imagined a celebration, a hug, some words of encouragement. Instead, my parents barely looked up from their phones. "That's good," my father mumbled, not even glancing at the award in my hands. My mother was more preoccupied with texting Amy about her shopping trip. Meanwhile, when Amy got a B+ in her weakest subject, they threw her a celebratory dinner and bought her a new phone. It was then I realized, effort didn't always equal recognition. No matter how hard I worked, I would never be the priority. And yet, I kept striving not for them but for myself. Here is a lesson for all of us. Don't tie your self-worth to others' validation. Have you ever felt unappreciated despite your hard work? Let's share in the comments. Story 4, Harvard vs. A Dance Performance ****. I was chosen for an elite summer program at Harvard, one of only 2 from my university. It was a huge honor. At dinner, I shared the news, expecting excitement. My dad grumbled and changed the subject to Amy's upcoming dance performance. My mother barely acknowledged my words. On the day of my departure, I packed my bags, my heart heavy with anticipation and disappointment. My parents couldn't take me to the airport. They were too busy getting ready for Amy's show. I sat in the back of a friend's parents' car, staring out the window as the city blurred past. I wondered what it would feel like to have parents who cheered for me, who made me feel like I mattered. Here is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes we have to celebrate ourselves. Have you ever had a major achievement downplayed? Let's discuss in the comments. Story 5, The College Acceptance That Meant Nothing. Months of dedication, sleepless nights, and endless essays paid off. I got into several elite colleges with a huge scholarship to my dream school. But when I told my parents, their reaction was indifferent. "That's good, but don't let it go to your head," my dad said. My mother added, "Just remember about us when you're off becoming a big shot." Meanwhile, Amy barely scraped by in school and was treated like a star for the smallest effort. It was baffling how the world could be so unfair, how I could work so hard and still feel unseen. Here is a lesson for all of us. Your achievements are valid, even if not everyone celebrates them. Have you ever had a proud moment brushed aside? Share your experience. Story 6, The Sibling Who Could Do No Wrong. Amy was the golden child, but she also made mistakes. Big ones. Failing grades, reckless behavior, yet my parents always found a way to justify it. Meanwhile, if I did anything less than perfect, I was criticized. It was exhausting trying to be enough when the bar was always shifting. Here is a lesson for all of us. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Have you ever felt like you had to be flawless to be noticed? Let's talk. Story 7. The birthday that didn't matter. Amy's birthdays were grand events with decorations, guests, and expensive gifts. What? A quiet dinner, a simple cake. It was a clear message. Some things mattered more than others, and I wasn't one of them. Here is a lesson for all of us. Love should never be conditional. Have you ever felt like your presence wasn't as valued? Let's discuss in the comments. Story 8. The unnoticed goodbye. When I left for college, there was no big send-off. My parents were too busy with Amy's activities. No words of encouragement, no feeling of warmth. It was just another day for them, but a life-changing moment for me. Here is a lesson for all of us. The people who truly care will show up for you. Who has been your biggest supporter in life? Let's appreciate them today. Story 9. The strength in being overlooked. Being the overlooked child taught me resilience. I no longer needed their validation. I became strong on my own. Today I am successful not because of their encouragement but in spite of their neglect. And that, in itself, is a victory. Here is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes, being underestimated is your greatest advantage. Have you ever turned pain into strength? Share your story in the comments. Story 10. Breaking free from the shadows. For years, I lived in Amy's shadow, constantly trying to earn a love that always seemed out of reach. No matter what I did, it was never enough. But one day I stopped chasing. I stopped waiting for their validation, their applause, their recognition. I realized I didn't need it. I carved my own path, away from their expectations, away from the constant comparisons. I built a life where I was proud of myself, not because someone else told me to be, but because I finally saw my own worth. The moment I stopped seeking their approval was the moment I truly became free. Here is a lesson for all of us. Your value is not defined by who notices you, it's defined by how you see yourself. Have you ever had to walk away from seeking someone's approval? Tell your story in the comments. Story 11. The unreturned favor. Whenever Amy needed help, I was the first to step up, homework, advice, or even covering for her when she missed deadlines. But when I needed her, she was nowhere to be found. I once asked her to pick me up from school after a late event, only to wait outside in the cold for an hour before realizing she had gone to a party instead. My parents shrugged it off as a simple mistake, while I was left feeling like I didn't matter. Here is a lesson for all of us. True relationships should be mutual. Have you ever given your all to someone who didn't return the favor? Share your story. Story 12. The job offer that meant nothing. After years of hard work, I landed my dream job. Excited, I shared the news at dinner, expecting congratulations. Instead, my dad casually asked, "Does it pay well?" And my mom changed the subject to Amy's weekend plans. No excitement, no pride, just another moment lost in the shadows. Here is a lesson for all of us. Celebrate yourself even when others won't. Have you ever had an achievement ignored? Let's talk about it. Story 13. The Christmas that wasn't. One Christmas, I spent weeks picking out thoughtful gifts for my family, carefully wrapping each one. When Christmas morning arrived, I watched as my parents and Amy exchanged gifts with laughter and excitement. But when it came to me, they had forgotten to buy anything. "Oh, we'll get you something later," my mom said casually. I smiled, but deep down I felt like an afterthought. Here is a lesson for all of us. Love is shown through actions, not words. Have you ever felt forgotten on a special occasion? Let's discuss. Story 14. The apology that never came. One day, Amy lost her temper and yelled at me over something trivial. My parents told me to be the bigger person and move on, while she never apologized. Growing up, I realized that I had been conditioned to accept unfairness in the name of keeping peace. Here is a lesson for all of us. You deserve respect no matter what. Have you ever had to forgive without receiving an apology? Share your thoughts. Story 15. Finding my own family. Over the years, I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about those who truly see and value you. I built my own circle of love and support, with friends who cheered for my victories and comforted me in struggles. I finally found the family I always needed. Here is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes the family we choose is more important than the one we're born into. Who are the people who make you feel seen and valued? Let's appreciate them today. Here is a summarized version of all the stories that we can take a lesson from it. Growing up in a family where favoritism was clear, I constantly found myself overshadowed by my sister, Amy. Whether it was birthdays, school achievements, or even major life milestones, my efforts were often dismissed while hers were celebrated. No matter how hard I worked, whether excelling in academics, getting into prestigious programs, or landing a dream job, I was never given the recognition I longed for. My achievements were met with indifference, while Amy was praised for the smallest of accomplishments. Through these experiences, I learned that true validation doesn't come from external approval, but from within. I discovered that family isn't just about blood, it's about the people who truly see, appreciate, and support you. Life may not always be fair, and sometimes the people we expect to support us the most may be the ones who overlook us. But that doesn't diminish your worth. Your hard work, achievements, and emotions are valid, even if others fail to acknowledge them. Find the people who celebrate you and never stop believing in yourself. Have you ever experienced being overlooked or undervalued? Share your story in the comments. Let's support each other. Don't forget to like, share, and comment to spread this message, because someone out there might need to hear it today.